want boulder shoulders. I'm talking about Derek from More Plates, More Dates. I'm talking about that kind of level shoulders. Those type of shoulders that you inherently know are anabolically induced. Basically, I want my shoulders to fill out a t-shirt the way that my belly is currently filling out this t-shirt. But there's two problems here. Each of our starting points is our starting points. Two separate people can have the same goal in mind, but one could be halfway along, the other one could be, basically has got a lot of muscle growth they have to go on. Another person could have to lose a lot of weight to basically show their muscles. Your starting point is your starting point. There's no getting around that. The second problem is the fact that genetically speaking, you are what you are. Like, without enhancement, you can only go so far. And in addition to that point, I'll say this. When it comes to the overhead military press in particular, it's really hard to go heavy without enhancement. And if you don't do the movement correctly, if you are like me and you tend to be a little bit of a question mark when it comes to things such as your form, it's not hard to get a shoulder impingement. Like, it's not hard to actually do damage to yourself because you kind of look like an idiot when you're doing the exercise because you have no proper form. You have no actual true range of motion. You have to almost ridiculously do it slow so that way seasoned veteran lifters come up to you and kind of pat you on the back and go, "Hey, buddy, I just want to let you know. I really love the fact that you're taking full reps with this, that you're really only, moving the bar as it's intended to be." No, bro, it's because I don't have the ability to explode through the movement yet. Shit, I have to clean this whole damn thing up before my wife finds out this is where I've hid everything from the house. It's going to take a minute. So, here's the plan. Number one, I'm going to actually make sure that I'm setting this exercise up properly. I'm going to make sure that I actually have the right height on the actual bar itself. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing the best I can to avoid issues such as shoulder impingement, making sure that, I'm not taking away from other exercises, and not making sure that it's difficult for me to lift my, arms up over my head due to soreness, because it doesn't take much to get your shoulders completely wrong and have an actual pretty intense injury, something that actually kind of takes a little bit out of you, takes your breath away for a second, to be quite honest. Number two, I'm going to actually warm up for the exercise. What I mean by this is I'm going to prime my muscles, because I'll be honest, I like to skip that because I don't know. I'm stupid when it comes to certain things, that being one of them. I will say that since I've started doing this and I've started using resistance bands, you can get these resistance bands for $20, guys. They're not that expensive, especially if you're only using them to prime your muscle. You really don't need an expensive set. I've got more expensive ones, like my Serious Steel one, but you don't need that level of band if you're only just kind of priming the muscle, to be quite honest. What I will say is when I do this, I don't typically, unless I'm doing something stupid with my form, I don't typically experience things such as impingements on my shoulder. I do tend to be actually loosened up. And then when I finish, basically with the actual priming using resistance bands, when I get to that empty bar and I'm hitting the empty bar to just kind of really make sure I'm getting blood up there to the shoulders, I tend to do okay. I mean, I really haven't experienced any kind of negative consequences as a result of that. Everything seems to be going as I planned it, to be quite honest. Number three, lift as heavy as I can, as safely as I can. Meaning I'm trying to take, and it's not necessarily even heaviness. That's a pretty amateur way of stating this. It's really getting as close to failure as I possibly can without putting myself in danger, right? Actually using things such as my safety arms, or just simply making sure that I'm taking it as close to failure as I can, but maybe you leave one, you leave one rep in reserve there, because while I don't have anyone here with me, like my wife or, I got a friend here or someone, then, okay, at least they can go call 911 if something happens, right? I'm just trying to be safe about it. I am somewhat experienced when it comes to lifting. I'm just deconditioned, to be quite honest. But like I said, guys, I was in the military. I'm a former athlete. I know that it is difficult to judge when you're truly close, one rep away from failure.
Oh
I know what that
my
feels like, man. I know my
God!
body's basically giving me every signal in the world that without having another partner here to help spot me or to help get me through this exercise, it's probably move on to the next set, and it's probably to give myself, that 2-minute rest time or so. So take it as close as I can get it to failure. Make sure I'm exerting the type of effort that I need to get this done. Number 4, pyramid. This is what I mean by pyramid, okay? Listen, I start a program and then I create the document, and then I get you to buy that document for $99.99, and then you add a sentence to that document, but then you sell to 2 of your buddies for $99.99, and I take 30% of that $99.99, but you keep 70% of it, right? And then those people add a few words to it. Eventually, when we get 100 or so people down the line, we will have conquered the world. And on top of that, one of the people out there would have actually got a full actual program. They'll have an excellent program that was created by over 100 different people. What? That's not a pyramid? What do you mean? Then why don't they just call that a ladder? You got to be kidding me. So a ladder is basically when you're almost like kind of coming in and you're doing a circuit training, but a pyramid is essentially when you start light and then you go all the way down the pyramid to a heavy lift. So what am I doing? An inverse pyramid? Basically, guys, what I'm saying here is that I'm starting heavy instead of starting light, and then I'm going to pyramid the list, if you will, like kind of an inverse pyramid. So I'm going to start heavy instead of starting light, and then gradually I'm going to go down, right? I don't want to go through all these sets and stuff, and then I get to my heavy set, because then I'm not truly testing how strong I'm getting, and strength is definitely a measurement that I'm checking for here. So I'm going to make sure that I'm adequately pyramiding my lifts. Last but not least, find the right volume. What I mean by that is I'm working out hard. I want to work out with a certain level of intensity, right? But I also want to make sure that I'm providing the right type of stimulus to actually facilitate muscle growth. And I know this is really subjective, and I know that this changes from person to person. You have to be able to recover from what you're doing, or else you're just wasting your time, or even worse, you might be doing damage. With that said, guys, I'm trying to find the right type of volume here, and currently what I'm doing is, because I am warming up, I am using resistance bands to get myself primed, and then I'm moving into a weightless movement with it, right? Just a bar. Because I'm doing all that, then I'm also going to follow up with basically 4 sets, to where, generally speaking, I may have done a 5th set there, but I know the priming and stuff isn't meant to actually get reps in, but you're still kind of getting reps in. The empty bar is not really technically supposed to be counted as a rep, but your body doesn't know the difference. It just knows that there's a stimulant being, there's a stimulus being provided there. So I'm trying to make sure I can recover from it, but I'm also like pushing myself hard enough that when I come back the next week, I've done enough for my central nervous system to recognize that I want to push heavier weight. This is the new norm, right? I want to build those boulder shoulders. And on the topic of building boulder shoulders, if you missed the other day's upload where I talked about actually being able to blow up my bench press, one of the things I noticed about my bench press, guys, if I'm being quite honest, is that my shoulders were the limiting factor. My triceps and my pecs currently are doing quite well with the weight level I'm working at. And that is very subjective, guys, because as I scale up in weight, it may not take long for my shoulders to catch up, but now my triceps and my pec muscles become the issue. All this stuff is definitely like, there's a little nuance to it, if you will. However, if you want to see that video and you want to learn, kind of go see, not even learn, if you want to see what I'm talking about when it comes to like blowing up my bench press and like my approach, if you want to laugh, check this video out right here, guys. And you can see me starting from a guy who used to be able to push a little bit of weight once upon a time to a guy now that, yeah, bro, the very first workout I did on the bench press, the bar was giving me a run for my money. But I have moved up since then, just a teeny tiny bit. All right, y'all. Peace. I'm out of here.